GPVWC 2020 is go!
Hello everyone and welcome. We're here for the 10th round of the Superleague Lights Championship of GPVWC, and I'm here with my cameraman at the moment, Gerrit de Vries. We're waiting for Caitlin Penny. She's a bit late, but I'm sure she'll arrive soon. For now, you'll have to do it with me, Wopke Hoekstra, as your commentator. And we're just in qualifying now with the first few laps just being set by multiple people already, with Liam de Waal, of course, who else, in first position so far with a 43.3, followed by his teammate, Colin Spork. And Liam de Waal is, of course, the story of the season. He's won every race so far as he just gets topped by Leon Bok, actually, in P1 now, the Super Cup race winner here yesterday. And he's filling in the Clay Geely car today. Liam de Waal's story of the season. He's won every race so far, 9 out of 9. And this could be number 10. And it could also mean he wins the championship at this round already. With 6 races to go after this, that's a really interesting feat. He can win the championship if he wins the race. And if, I believe, Spork, his teammate, finishes 5th or lower. And Francorchamps doesn't finish 2nd. I think those are the rules he has to follow, and if that happens, then he's already the champion. So he'll actually be hoping his teammate doesn't perform that well, I guess, if he wants to be the champion right now, because I believe he has some plans for the future already, which probably means he wants to be the champion as soon as possible, just to have that sorted, and so he can move on. 9 out of 9 is a really interesting feed. Anyway, some interesting new names on the grid is Matthew Williams here in P4 right now for TR Bluevos. I think it's TR Bluevos. It is. And he's in 4th place now, and he's been brought in as a new primary driver for the team. So I think he did some Super League races earlier this season, and he's made the step down to Super League Lights. So that's really interesting. And we'll see how he gets on here as Jannes Wolborn actually goes to P3. And that's a really good performance from the Mouse 1 driver. Mouse 1 could do with the points. So great performance by Jannes Wolborn so far. And they also brought in a new emergency driver in the form of Martin Hemmingsen, the championship leader in the Formula Challenge. Won a race here in the Formula Challenge as well. And he's been brought in to help the team out, scoring some points. Hopefully he'll be able to do that. His time so far, though, 9 seconds off the pace. So he probably hasn't had an incident or anything like that. So I'm sure he'll improve on that. That's not the Martin we know in Formula Challenge. Other than that, for P2, the battle is still pretty close. We have Colin Spork fighting with, I think he's currently in 2nd place, but we also have Francorchamps in there. We have Paulini in there, we have Mayer in there, and I think there's 1 or 2 others involved as well. I think Douwe Tapper as well. He's one of the drivers who's really close. Let me just quickly look that up as we go along. Yes, and Sandeep Singh, of course, he's in 3rd place actually, tied with Francorchamps. So Francorchamps, I think, because I was using the standings before the penalties, Francorchamps has actually dropped some points after penalties, and he's now behind Sandeep Singh, and that means, they also can't be a champion anymore. Or, actually, wait, I'll quickly calculate this. So Sandeep can actually be the champion as well. So if Sandeep finishes 2nd, he also isn't the champion just yet. But so that's one more thing he has to oblige to this race, Liam de Waal, in order to become a champion. Sandeep or Francorchamps, both of them, they can finish second, and Colin Spork must finish fifth or lower. That's basically the rules for him to become a champion. Otherwise, we take it on to the next round, in which is very likely that he becomes the champion anyway. Since all these guys, they have to win pretty much every race in a season that has been dominated by Liam de Waal so far. Time's still rolling in. Liam de Waal is back up to second. Actually, no, that's still his lap time. Of course, the laps are a bit longer, so we don't see that many laps going in every time. 1:43 being the fastest. I think that's a lot longer than the usual lap in this car. Yeah, championship contender Douwe Tapper, or well, second place contender Douwe Tapper is all the way down in 21st place. So that's not a good time from him so far. Of course, he's 3 seconds off the pace, as well as Jack Mayer being 4 seconds off the pace. And MDR also brought in a new driver, a new primary driver as well, which is Tobias Plotzak, and he's currently in, well, he just jumped up to 10th place in the MDR car, and he will be filling in the second driver's seat next to Jack Mayer for the rest of the season. Of course, Jack Mayer is one of the owners of MDR, Mayer Downard Racing, and he's doing a good job so far this season, and they had Frank Hemming in the car as well, so that really means the team is up there in the standing as well. Second place with a nice margin to the teams in third and fourth, which are TG and CM Tech, in which you have TG with Francorchamps and Jacob Reed. Jacob Reed is struggling a little bit though, down in 21st, and we also have CM Tech with Dino Paolini and Thomas Wok. And Wok had some issues in the beginning of the season. Seems to be showing some stronger pace lately, as he is in 6th place now in qualifying so far. Interesting fact about this, I'm the team owner of the team, and I know Wok has practiced quite a lot for this event, not just because he likes practicing, but also because his wheel broke down just a few days before the race, so he had to change his wheel, take the second wheel he had, like the backup wheel, the one that he kept after he bought a new one probably, and he had to get used to the wheel, and also probably change the setup a little bit to his liking with the new wheel. And yeah, he's doing a good job so far in P7. Yeah, so good job to him. And Martin Hemmingsen is now in P5. Sorry if I missed that, but yeah, Mouse 1 is really looking strong here with P5, 4 and P. Well, it's P6 now as Jack Mayer jumps into 5th place. And yeah, let's see if there is anyone on a lap right now. But I think most people are just coming back in to perform their final run after this. With just under 4 minutes to go. We have some people really running close together. So wonder if that may cause any issues to any of these drivers. See how it goes. There's even some fighting going on the Camel Straight. So yeah, of course, it will be interesting to see how this race gets along. In the previous events, we saw quite a lot of crashes at Eau Rouge and Radion, to be more precise. A lot of cars crashing out in the dirty air. I've heard multiple stories about that. Some say it's easier some say it's easier in the Superleague Lights, as I just hear sound, and I think that is my mate coming in, Caitlin Penny.
Hello, sorry I'm late.
No problem. We're glad you're here. And yeah, we're just running through the final minutes of qualifying now. With cars coming up for their final lap, I think. As actually, I just noticed that, I hadn't noticed yet, but Cenobite is running a special livery, and I think it was also on the cover actually. I didn't know which team it was, but it's Cenobite. And yeah, it looks great. It's a bit of a Dutch styled livery, I think, but we didn't run the Dutch GP, of course, this year after some flaws in the track, and I think it's a nice way of having a home GP anyway, at Spa-Francorchamps because before in F1 as well, before we ran Zandvoort, everyone, well, mainly the Dutchies, they just said, well, Spa is our home track. So I guess that's what the Cenobites are doing as well. As I just see Liam de Waal giving Colin Spork a slipstream for his final lap, and I guess in his in lap, sorry, he's going to be giving Liam de Waal some slipstream. So yeah, that's going to be helpful as well. And they've been one of the few teams to do that at pretty much every round. So they're doing a good job at that, and it shows why they're top of the table, not just because of Liam, but also because Colin is performing well as well in second place.
Yeah, the Cenobite guys have been the class of the field this year, absolutely dominant in terms of the team's championship. And also, of course, part of that is because of the teamwork between the pair of them, and the utter dominance of Liam de Waal. But of course, Colin Spork's been doing a great job in that second car, as you've been saying. Only 15 years old, very young, and very inexperienced for a Superleague Lights driver. But somehow extremely quick, and he's got a couple of podiums to his name already. He actually messaged me earlier saying that he thinks he can go for the win today, so that's going to be his aim. But anyway, you're seeing the Cenobites heading around the track in qualifying. Okay, how are they doing?
They're currently in first and third. First and second actually now, as Colin Spork just jumped up to second place with a 42.9. Liam de Waal in first place with a 42.8, and now they're just waiting. Colin is just waiting for Liam as well to give him some slipstream. So that's interesting tactics, and might help the team out a lot. Although I think he has messed up as he just rejoins the track behind Liam. So interesting one that. And Liam de Waal is on pole position probably anyway, because they are quite a bit ahead of the rest, as Leon Bock is in third. He did improve his time and he's still on a lap now, but he is 2/10 off Liam. And Sandeep Singh in fourth place, half a second off. So yeah, that's really a big difference. I don't think anyone's going to make that up. Jannis Wolburn still on a lap in fifth place. So really good qualifying for him anyway, even if he doesn't improve. As Francorchamps just goes to fourth place. He'll be fighting for that second place in the race, because he doesn't want Liam de Waal to become the champion just yet. He knows it's probably more of a when is it going to happen instead of is it going to happen, but he wants to extend that as much as he can.
Now, Liam de Waal, if I remember correctly, can actually win the championship today, but I'm going to have to work that out.
Yes, he
I'll
can.
get that back to you later, yeah. I'm not sure if you've done the arithmetic on it, Wopke.
Yes, I have.
Even if he doesn't, it's very much in the hands of Liam de Waal, and he just has to extend it as much as he can. But he wants to win it today, or at least as soon as possible, because he wants to move straight up to Super League before the end of the season. And we were speaking to him after the last few races, and he said the same thing: I'm moving up to Super League as soon as I win it. So that's Liam de Waal's aim, and that's why he's absolutely flying around the circuit as we speak.
Yes, so I've done the calculations already, and basically he already said to me, Colin needs to finish fifth or lower, and we also have Francorchamps and Singh who can still win the championship, mathematically, but they need to finish second place to keep their hopes alive. If they finish third or lower, it's over. So it will at least be over for one of them, and potentially for both of them.
Okay, thanks for that, Wopke. Of course, Colin Spork is Liam's teammate, and I'm sure that that Liam won't worry about him too much, because there seems to be seems to have been a little bit of team orders in that team the last few races, although. I think I'm looking forward to the end of the season when Colin can take over and show exactly what he can do. But anyway, checkered flag, I think, is out on this qualifying session, and it's going to be Liam de Waal on pole position ahead of his teammate Colin Spork. It's a Cenobite 1-2 ahead of Leon Bock doing a good job in the SCG car, and then Michael Francorchamps and Sandeep Singh. And we'll read out the rest on the formation lab. But yeah, Wopke, another absolute masterclass from the Cenobite cars. Do you think Leon Bock might split them?
That could be an interesting one. Leon Bock is certainly up there. The gap to the rest is actually pretty big. I think Francesconi in 4th place already 4 tenths off, but Liam Buck really got close. I don't know if he had any slipstream or what, but I know he's very good on his tires as well. So during the race, he'll definitely be a threat, and I think he might even be able to challenge for the win, I think. Yeah, it will be an interesting one, as long as he can keep up with them. Of course, we see Liam usually in the first few laps trying to get out of the slipstream and the DRS, but at this track, the slipstream effect is quite extreme. So as long as they can keep in touch with Liam, I think he's going to have a tough day at the office to make this a win. But yeah, he's certainly in the prime position to win it anyway.
I agree. Well, anyway, I do think that Leon Buck does have quite a high chance of winning today, actually. I think Liam de Vries, his win streak has gone on for a very, very long time, but it's going to be extremely difficult to keep it up for another round. Spa, of course, throws up drama every time we go here. And I think if someone's going to take it away from him, it's going to probably be Leon Buck. So Buck is probably going to be my prediction for the win, but he's got it tough from P3. He's got a solid wall of Cenobites ahead of him, effectively, and I think his best chance of getting through is going to be to split them at the start, so they can't exactly work together. And I think he's going to have to really worry about his start, get it spot on, or maybe slipstream one of the Cenobites or both of them down the Kemmel Straight. You often see something happening at Spa, which is that whoever leads into La Source on the first lap isn't necessarily who leads at La Com, because then you have that supreme flat out section from the end of La Source all the way up Eau Rouge, then Radiant, and past the Kemmel Straight, through the kink, down the long run to La Com, and into the braking zone as well. And by that point, the lead does often change hands. We've seen that in Formula One a couple of times. 2018, they went, I think, 4 wide down into La Source, but before the 2 racing points backed off. And we've seen that happen in Superleague and Superleague Lights quite a few times in the past as well. You also have to be careful not to lose control up Radiant on the first lap. Of course, the cars handle very differently to how they work in qualifying. You've got a lot of fuel on board, and as a result, sometimes the back end of the car can just move around. And we saw in the Formula Challenge race that it all kind of kicked off at the top of the hill. I got as good a view of anyone as that, as I found myself randomly flying through the air as soon as I got to the top of the hill, and when I landed, I was in an absolute mangle of carbon fiber and other cars. So that kind of thing definitely happens. Eau Rouge Radiant, that section of corners are famous for that, and yeah, these guys are going to have to be very careful not to have a 2004 Grand Prix style start.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I also mentioned in the Super Cup, they also had the same type of incident in the first race. So yeah, it's definitely possible that 1 or 2 cars go off. But I'm hoping these guys are usually more experienced. They probably had a lot of practice, and it's a long race, so they'll be more careful not to spin off in the first lap. As well as these cars, they probably have a little bit more grip than the previous cars, so the Formula Challenge and the Super Cup cars. So maybe the backhand will be more stable. But yeah, it's definitely a tricky one, especially in the dirty air, as you said. And on the first lap, you get loads of that with everyone filtering through Eau Rouge and Radion. And yeah, maybe 1 or 2 people trying to go side by side. That could also end up in disaster. So we'll see how it goes. But it's definitely one to look forward to, is this start.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just having a couple of problems joining the server, actually. So anyway, thank you for covering me at the start there, Wopke. I'm still having a couple of issues. But anyway, hopefully it should be okay. We're currently in a warm-up session. We've got about 6 minutes to go in it, and of course this isn't it doesn't directly affect the order at all, but it's just the driver's last opportunity to see the track and to feel how the car is going to handle at the very start of the race. As you pointed out, these cars, they do have a lot more grip than than say Formula Challenge cars or Academy cars or Super Cup cars. Of course, Formula Challenge and Academy are the same chassis, but anyway. But they also have much larger fuel tanks and a much larger disparity in terms of how the car feels at the start of the race and how the car feels in qualifying. So that will be what they're all feeling for now. And they would have filled up their fuel tanks to race spec. And of course, they can't change anything else about the cars. They all have to be kept in parc fermé condition, so no suspension upgrades, no brake changes. The only thing you can actually do to the car is change the front wing angle as well as the brake bias. But anyway, there you go, and that is what they will be testing right now.
Yes, so for penalties, I was just looking through them. And George Sutton has a 10-slot grid penalty for exceeding track limits in qualifying. But he's already near the back, so you won't notice much of that, I think. Also, Dawid Tapper, one of the second place contenders, he'll have a 20-slot grid penalty after running into the back of Mike Quinn at the German Grand Prix, which was already 4 weeks ago. So I can't believe time has flown by that fast. But he'll be finding himself near the back of the grid, so he'll have a tough job to do. Maybe it's worth for him to go on an alternative strategy and try to make the most of that, but we'll see how he does in the race, trying to make his way back up.
Yeah, I think it's definitely worth it. I would be surprised if he didn't. You often see the top 10 drivers starting on the... Oh, sorry, I'm going to sneeze. Carry on, Wopke.
Yeah, it's the top 10 drivers starting on the softs, probably. That's what you meant to say. And then behind, you get a variety of strategies. We have 3 tire compounds here, soft, medium, hard. And yeah, usually you see some drivers starting on the medium. Not that often on the hards, but you get 1 or 2 usually near the back of the field. Those are usually the guys, though, who struggle a bit for tire wear. And they decide to go on the hards, carry on as long as possible, and notice when the tires go off, they just pit for either softs or mediums depending on which lap they are on. The top 10 of course has to start on the compound they qualified on, and I would believe they all qualify on the softs anyway, so they have to start on softs. So there's no option for the number 1 driver to start on mediums or hards for the people that are new to this series. But behind, you can choose whatever you like, and do whatever you want. And I think in this track it will also be less of a problem with the tire wear, because there's a lot of long straights. It's a long lap, and there aren't that many corners where you really waste the tires too much. So yeah, that will help some of the drivers who are normally struggling for tire wear a bit. It might help them out just that little bit to find a good position on the grid, or to find a good position in the race as well, and not have to pit too early or use a harder compound or anything like that. So that will be interesting to see as well, if certain drivers are suddenly up there.
You're absolutely right, Wopke. Spa tends to be a circuit which is it's seen as a kind of equalizer. It's not so much the car. Of course, it helps to be a faster driver, and it helps to have it helps to have a faster car, and it also helps to have one that's good in a straight line, since a lot of this course is very kind of low downforce and so forth. Although it does tend to be that the better drivers rise to the fore on this circuit because it's so physical. Not so much on the tires, but on the driver and on their ability. It's quite a long circuit as well, making it tougher to learn and tougher to predict when you get things like weather coming into play as well. Although it pains me to say that, since Spa tends not to be a very good track for me, but anyway, I definitely expect to see the best drivers rise to the top today. It's going to be tough to beat Liam Duval, but of course, all great things have to end sometimes, and I think his incredible win streak is going to have to be one of them. He's still probably the most likely driver to win this race, especially since he's taken pole position. But he's going to have to be careful because he does have both his teammate, who I presume will be trying to help him to the crown, but also Leon Buck snapping at his heels today.
Yes, and of course there are a few drivers who qualified a little bit down on pace, but they could still be up there in the race, of course, if they maybe they set their car up to be better in the race. So we'll see how that goes for them. Of course, we still have a lot of people in this series who are capable of driving very well. It all may seem a little bit odd with Liam de Waal winning every race, but it's not like he won every race easily or anything like that. It's just he always finishes just ahead of everyone else, and that makes it quite an amazing feat. And it also means that the field still is really tight and also really a quality field. So yeah.
Now, we do actually have a new challenger in this field today. I'm not sure if you've already spoken about them, Wopke, but Tobias Polotzek is returning to GPVWC for the first time since 2017. Now, anyone who's been around GPVWC for a while will know that he drove for Evolution Motorsports in Super Cup in both 2016 and 17, actually picked up 4 wins in the 2017 season, plus another podium, and was generally very, very fast. But actually, he's not been in GPVWC for a while. I think he's been seen in a couple of young driver tests and a couple of other tests, but aside from that, nothing much. And today he makes his return for the MDR team in the place of Frank Hamming, who drove very, very well for a lot of this season. They've handed it over now to Tobias Polotzek, who has spent a lot of his recent years in FSR.
Yes, and yeah, I had a little bit of talking about him, but not that extended. So thank you for the background information as well, I think. And there's a few more new guys. I'll talk about it later as we move on the grid. Maybe I can name them just really quickly now. Matthew Williams, of course, in the TR. He's gone down from Super League to Superleague Lights, as I mentioned. We have Martin Hemmingson filling in as an emergency. Jonas Wolborn is an emergency as well, but I think he did last round as well. It's a home race, by the way, for Matthias Ronzani, but he's all the way down in 26th, so that's a bit unfortunate. Also for Matteo Keersmakers, who has made his way up to Super League Lights, going up from Super Cup, where he was with Crossfire, and he now finds himself in the RSR, teaming up with Sandeep Singh, who's still fighting for second.
One thing I know, or one thing I want to know, sorry, is Matteo Keersmakers related to Lawrence Keersmakers, who of course...
He is.
Yes, he is. Brothers, okay. Of course, Lawrence Keersmakers is a GPWC Super League race winner, and yeah, I could see his brother in that RSR car. And actually, looking at the site, I don't think he's raced in GPVWC before, so good to see him making his debut, I think it is, for the Powered by RSR car.
Yes, this is his first race in Lights. He was in the Super Cup before. He is actually still in 10th place now after missing yesterday's round, of course. But he did a really good job there, scored multiple podiums, I think even a win at his final Grand Prix after penalties in the second race of the German Grand Prix. So yeah, really shown some improvement over the past few rounds, and I think it's a good time for him to move up to Super League Lights and see what he can do here.
Jolly good. And I'm also interested to see how Matthew Williams does. I've raced against Matthew Williams in the past. He was actually my brother's first teammate in Simracing, and he has always been extremely, extremely fast. But I don't see... Oh, he's actually starting 13th for the ETR Blue Boss Motorsports car. Anyway, as the formation lap gets underway, let's talk you through the grid. It is Liam de Waal on pole position, followed by Colin Spork in the other Cenobite car. They are followed by Leon Buck, who I expect will be their closest rival, who actually qualified 0.3 of a second ahead of Michael Francesconi, who rounds out the second row of the grid and could also be very competitive. Sandeep Singh is P5, followed by Janis Wolborn, again excelling in the Mars 1 racing car. Then it's Jack Mayer, Martin Hemmingson, also excelling in the Mars 1 racing car. Tomasz Wach James Zuber, Dino Paulini, Jaco-Pekka Lalu, Matthew Williams, Matteo Keersmakers, of course, brother of Lauren Keersmakers, the Super League race winner. Pascal Schmidt is P15, followed by Tobias Polotzek, moving into that MDR racing car. Then Matthias Canapino, brother of Augustin Canapino. Then Heigo Poom, Tom Stevens, Christian Malcharak, Eric Teske, Giuseppe Saracino, Jacob Reed, Pedro Mora, Mike Quint, Matthias Ranzani, and then the final row of the grid will be George Sutton and Dowie Tapper.
Yes, actually a full lineup, full new lineup for Drake as well, with Tom Stevens and Eric Teske. I'm interested to see how they do, but we're lining up on the grid now, so yeah, we'll see very soon.
Okay, Wopke, if you could talk me through the start here, since my game is still not loading and I'm still having technical difficulties.
Yes, and the final few people are just lining up now. I think they're all settled. And, the lights should be coming on soon, hopefully, unless someone's out of position, as they don't come on just yet.
Tension builds before the start of the Super League Lights race.
Yeah, it must definitely be quite stressing for these drivers as well, with the lights not coming on just yet. Someone's out of position, I think, because yeah, they're really not going to be showing.
It's a long hold, yeah. They really should be coming on by now.
Yeah, interesting. I'm just seeing if anyone's out of position.
Are the lights really still not done? Goodness me.
Well, they're not for me, so unless I'm being glitched out here, I think it might be some sort of glitch actually, because everyone seems to be in position, but the drivers are just waiting.
The site's not indicating that the race has started, so we've got some kind of issue here as the drivers are waiting on the grid. Some people, our cameraman just saying it's something to do with Canapino, possibly. Canapino in 17th on the grid. Possibly out of position. He's the top driver on hard tires, according to the site.
Car starting to smoke.
Car starting to smoke.
Liam Bock, but the lights are on now. 3, 4, 5. And here we go for the start. It's a good start by Liam Bock and by Colin Spork as well, as Liam de Waal boxed down a little bit. He's down to second place. Michael Francesconi going around the outside of the first corner, but he can't get past Liam de Waal, but he does get past Liam Bock, and Liam de Waal is smoking, as well as Francesconi. I believe a lot of cars are smoking, and that could be an issue during the race. That's definitely going to be interesting to see, as everything seems to be going all right, as Sandeep Singh makes a tiny mistake up on Rouge right on. And some people dropping down the order. It's Dino Paulini down to 17th already. Dowie Tapper making his way back up, and Tobias Polotzek is in the wall. He's out of the race. Yeah, well, at least his rear wing's gone off. And yeah, he just lost it under dirty air. He's the only one to really suffer, as... Oh, actually, something happened near the start already with Matteo Keersmakers. So he's out of the race already. Let's see what happened. I think his car just died already.
Really, really bad start for a bunch of people. Of course, the cars are smoking because they were held on the grid for so long and there was no air going through the radiators. But anyway, the race continues. Poor start from Leon Bock, and luckily I can finally see it because my game has loaded in. It's de Waal, Spork, Francesconi, Walburn and Bock coming through the mid-section. And indeed, yeah, we have had a couple of cars involved in incidents. 2 out already, Matteo Keersmakers and Tobias Polotzek. Just saw one car running through the gravel a little bit as well. I think it may have been George Sutton, but still the remaining 26 cars running through the middle of the circuit up towards Blanchimont, through Blanchimont, and continuing the lap. Francesconi getting closer to Spork.
Yes, and Liam de Waal had quite a bad start. He got overtaken by Colin Spork, but down the Camel Straight he overtook him again, and he was back up into the lead. As I see George Sutton near the back, he's really lagging a lot, so he might be lagging out anytime soon. I'm afraid for him, unless the internet fixes itself. Yeah, as you said, quite a poor start for Liam Bock, and he was one of the challengers, but he's lost 2 positions to Walburn and to Francesconi, so yeah, a bit unfortunate. And he's trying to make his way back past Walburn, as he wants to keep in touch with Francesconi, who is also near the top still.
And Buck now to the inside of Wilburn. 3 goes. So Buck back up to 4th, trying to make a recovery. Wilburn down to 5th, still doing a good job in that Mars 1 car. Great qualifying for him. Jack Mayer just behind him as well. He's made up a few places at the start. And then Buck was under pressure a little bit from James Zuber through that couple of corners. I should warn you quickly, Wopke, I don't have a replay, so I won't be able to tell you what's going on in the past. But anyway, big gaggle of cars coming through Brussels right there. I was sure that George Sutton or Pedro Moura was going to go spinning off, but they both managed to keep control. Those are the final few positions of the lap with the 2 drag cars rounding out the field. And both going slightly wide and off the road a little bit, but anyway, the race continues. Spork under pressure from Francorchamps. They're really starting to break away from Leon Buck a little bit now, and that's partly because of Buck's battle with Jannis Wilburn. I think they may come under pressure from Jack Mayer next lap.
Yes, I think that's definitely going to be one to watch, as Leon Buck is trying to make his way back up to the front of the field. He's trying to get back in touch with Francorchamps and with Spork, and we've seen in the earlier races in Formula Challenge and Super Cup already that if you start fighting at this track, especially through Lecum, you really lose a lot of time. So yeah, there's definitely still plenty of chances for him, as Liam de Waal has again managed to get out of the slipstream of his teammate. 1.1 seconds the gap, so probably just a little bit of slipstream, but no DRS, as Francorchamps opens his DRS, goes to the outside. He's already passed before the corner, and he's up into 2nd place.
Indeed, so Francorchamps now splits the Cenobites, and that's going to be important because he has reduced the support that Colin Spork can give to Liam de Waal. Now, can he get after de Waal? Can he get within DRS range? DRS is active, so what can he do about that? There's someone off, and it's Hygo Poom who is missing his rear wing, and that is at Lecom. Now, hopefully he knows he's missing his rear wing, but anyway, he's down to the back of the field and probably out of the race. But anyway, yeah, Francorchamps splitting the Cenobites. And I wonder if he will be able to get into that DRS range. Also, James Zuber, I think, repassed Thomas Schwach just at the start of this lap as well. Those two have been fighting. I thought they were going to touch the chicane, but anyway, they're still okay. Wopke.
Yes, and Hygo Poom's gone off because he tried to overtake Jukka-Pekka Lalu for 14th place, but I think Lalu didn't notice he was there. He turned in. And Poom spun around and hit the wall with his rear, lost his rear wing, and I think he's going to retire very shortly as he does so. Right now, parks the car and he's out of the race.
Yeah, he lost control trying to bring it back to the pits. Often it's so difficult to drive without a rear wing, and everyone misjudges it. But anyway, now this is important. What can Spork do? Can he get back past Francorchamps? Because it's not over until you can get out of DRS range. Francorchamps is not in DRS range of de Waal. Now that's also very important, because it means that Spork's lost it! Spork has had a big crash! Oh my goodness, he's out of the race! And Colin Spork, who said to me before the race that he was going to win, is not going to come away with anything. Radion claims a victor.
Yeah, and you could see it coming as well. He was trying to take a lot of risk up onto the hill, and I think, he's still a young driver. I think this is a great learning moment for him. Really unfortunate though, as he's out of the race and he can't continue. Losing a wheel, yeah, it's a bit hard to bring that back to the pits. Probably the engine dead as well.
Yeah. You brought a car back to the pits without a wheel in WCS League a couple of years ago, I remember. But anyway, Jack Mayer also just got past Jannis Wilburn on that last lap. Got up into 4th position as it is now. Would have been 5th, but Colin Spork sadly has taken himself out of the race. Very easy mistake to make. Radion, a notoriously dangerous corner, not quite as difficult as Pong, but if you make a mistake there, it's going to bite you, and that is exactly what has just happened to Colin Spork. And he will be kicking himself over that, because he had an easy podium from that position, and probably could have got past Francorchamps on that lap as well. But anyway, I hope he keeps his head up, because everyone makes mistakes like that in their rookie season, and he will just have to come back stronger next time. But anyway, that gives Francorchamps 2nd position for the time being. Leon Buck is now up into the podium positions as well, P3. and none of them are within DRS range of each other, so they're all just going to have to keep it clean and steady until the pit stop stages. I'd say that Francorchamps could maybe hunt Darren Cavell, but he appears to be dropping back from him a little. But anyway, further back we still have a, actually I think Jannis Volben's still in the DRS range of Jack Meir, so we'll keep an eye on how that goes down this straight. Sandeep Singh right behind as well, and also opening his DRS. Yeah, I think he's going to go to the inside, so Singh for 5th, and Wolburn holds him off but brakes really late, and they actually touch wheels slightly, but Wolburn gets the car turned into the corner anyway, and that's how good Wolburn is, and he's actually bringing Singh back towards his teammate Hemmingson, so can the Motor1 cars both clear the powered by RSR? We're about to see on the next lap, I think. But yeah, good racing from the Motor1 cars and good defense from Wolburn.
Yes, definitely a great move by Wolburn. He braked really late. I thought he was going to miss the corner, but yeah, he held it very tight. And of course, there was a little bit of contact, but I think that's just about fine. The margins are really tiny, of course, in racing. You want to get as close to the opponent as possible. And sometimes, yeah, you have a little bit of scrubbing. But something like this, it's not really bad. So great racing by both drivers. One driver who had a really poor start was Dino Paolini, and he was all the way down in 17th, but he's now back up to 15th, so at least he's in the point, of course. One of the challengers for 2nd place in the championship still, but if he keeps going like this, it's going to be a tough task for him to keep up with the other challenges. Although Colin Spork, of course, out of the race, he will be catching up with him quite easily.
So 2 seconds now, the gap for the lead. Deval to Francorchamps, 2.3 the gap between Francorchamps and Buck, and then another 2 seconds between Buck and Meir. So the podium seems relatively stable now, but you've got to look back, because look at Wolburn, Singh, Hemmingson, Tuba, Buck all shooting up Arouge, absolutely steady. And Singh's now going straight past Jannis Wolburn, and this lap it'll be easier. There he goes. So now the two Motor1 cars together, and Singh is up into the top 5. He's been quietly consistent this series, had a great race at Silverstone, and some other decent points finishes as well. Wolburn and Hemmingson have had slightly worse luck. They don't have the best car in the series by a long way, sadly, but appear to be going pretty well at Spa so far, both of them in the top 10 and outperforming their machinery in my opinion. Right behind them, James Tuba and Thomas Voch, and up into the top 10 now is Matthew Williams on his Superleague Lights debut, and doing a good job there in the TL Bluegrass car. But anyway, still very close there for 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, etc, etc.
Yes, definitely. And one driver I think who had a really good start is at least Maltrek. And I'm not sure about Schmidt and Lalu where they started, but Maltrek, I was sure he was like 21st or something at the start, and he's now up into 11th. So really good job by him, as Martin Hemmingson now tries to overtake his teammate in the chicane, but he brakes really late. He blocks the wheels a bit, but he gets into the corner quite nicely actually with that lockup. But the tires won't be liking that, so I wonder if Hemmingson is going to pass him anytime soon.
Indeed, Martin Hemmingson and Jannis Wolburn, teammates at Motor1, so we'll see what they decide to do about each other. I would presume that there's teamwork between the two of them, because they're both doing a really good job this weekend, and I think they were helping each other out in qualifying. But anyway, here comes Hemmingson, and I think they're going to swap. So Hemmingson opens DRS and goes straight past Wolburn, who also has his DRS open, but not going to make it too difficult for his teammate down there, because that was a relatively simple DRS slipstream overtake. What's going on?
Contact behind as Wok overtakes Tuba.
And Malcharek's going for a spin. Malcharek and Schmidt have made contact from 11th and 12th positions. It looked to me as if they were going side by side into Lacombe, and there just wasn't enough space for the two of them there.
Yeah, Schmidt tried to go around the outside to the right-hander, but then he went outside the track a little bit because they got pushed there, I think. And then over the curb he bounced back and took Malcharek with him, and both lost quite a lot of positions actually. So they're down to 19th and 22nd now, out of the points. Really unfortunate.
Yikes. Well, anyway, the two of them have a lot of recovery to do. I'm not going to put blame on either of the two of them until looking at that as a steward, but anyway, they have now dropped well down the order anyway. So that elevates Dino Paolini up into 13th place. It elevates Giuseppe Saracino into 12th. And I think you have Pat Galalo into 11th. I don't remember if he was ahead of them or not before that. But anyway, still the top drivers in DRS range of each other. Well, it's actually now Wilburn and Wopke, because Hemmingson's getting away a bit and is almost in DRS range of Singh now. In fact, he might be in DRS range of Singh. So I think Wopke is going to have a go, probably slipstream past Wilburn down the straight if he can. And James Zuber right in his tail as well, having a little bit of a twitch up Radion. And here comes Wopke now, goes to the left-hand side, and there's contact. Look at that, my goodness, that was hugely unnecessary down the straight as the two of them banged wheels, and James Zuber might have a look as well, and Wilburn locks up a wheel and goes a little bit squirrely. So Wopke has passed Wilburn, but was that entirely fair?
Yeah, that's tough to tell. I'm not sure who turned towards who really. It was really, I think, a tiny movement, and they touched. And yeah, with the DRS open, as I hear some crashing sound, with the DRS open, it's really tough. As Mike Quint's gone off. Yeah, Mike Quint's gone off.
Well, I didn't see what happened, but he's not got a front wing anymore.
Oh, yeah, that's really unfortunate. He got overtaken by Malcherek. Malcherek ran out of road and over the curb, similarly to last lap actually, and this time Quint just bumped into the rear of him and lost his front wing, so that's really unfortunate for Mike Quint.
Yikes. Well, anyway, the race continues. Quint will be making a stop. Luckily, it's easier to get back to the pits without a front wing than it is to get back without a rear wing, so he should make it back. But whether he'll score points today or not is doubtful. But anyway, at the end of another lap, I'm still watching the Wopke-Wilburn battle. They're still relatively close, still within DRS range of each other. I'm also watching closely to see if any of the guys in front get within DRS range of each other. Hemmingson might actually be within range of Singh now. It certainly was as they crossed the start-finish line, but only by a couple of thousandths of a second. So we'll see what they're like through the activation zone. Not entirely sure the detection zone. Not entirely sure where it is, but anyway, over the top of Radion they go. And does the DRS open? It does. So Hemmingson does have DRS, and he won't be close enough for a move this time around, but he's certainly going to get closer. Now look at Zuber. Zuber slipstreaming past Wilburn, done and dusted. So Wilburn's been dropping back the last few laps, and he's now down into 9th position, separated from his teammate by 2 whole cars now.
I think Wilburn is having some issues. I think, first of all, maybe he burned his tires a little bit too much, because I saw him smoking the tires a little bit as he almost spins there, going through the corner with no name. And yeah, also his top speed seems to be an issue, because I saw Wopke, for example, and also Juba getting past relatively easily there. No problem at all. And but yeah, he really seems to be struggling on these tires as well. I think both of those things are an issue, as he almost spins again. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, going a little bit twitchy in the second sector there. It's an easy place to get twitchy, but anyway, doing it a little bit more than he would like to. But anyway, also interestingly, the gap to the lead has actually come back down below 2 seconds for the first time since it extended past 2 seconds, and now I think it's going to extend out again. Yes, it does, because Francisconi did not hook up the car into the chicane and got a little bit wide, but anyway, it did so at the source as well. So Lindeval will have a little bit more comfort than he did. First car in DRS range of the car in front again is going to be Martin Hemmingson on Sandeep Singh, so we'll see if he's able to pull that. Some cars go side by side, like outside of the top 15, but anyway, Hemmingson closer to Singh than he was last time around, I think by 0.2 of a second. He'll probably gain about the same amount this lap as well, again using the DRS to try to get closer. The battle I'm watching outside of the top 15 is Reed versus Malcherek, and that's going up through Radion now. And that's been going on for a while. They've swapped places quite a few times this lap, but anyway, not scrapping over points positions right now. Malcherek is currently ahead in 18th position there.
And one gap that does look to be coming down is Leon Bok. He's closing up to Michael Francesconi and even to Liam de Waal, because he's only 3.3 seconds off now, while it was over 4 seconds before. So Bok really putting in some good
I'm not
laps.
surprised, actually. Sorry, I interrupted you there, but I'm not surprised because Leon Bok was 0.3 of a second faster than Francesconi in qualifying, which I know it doesn't sound like much, especially at Spa, which is quite a long track, but still, 0.3 of a second is 0.3 of a second, and if Leon Bok can pull that every single lap, admittedly it's not the same in a race scenario when you have the dirty air of the car in front, plus your own tyres to worry about, stuff like that. But whatever, you can definitely gain on the car in front pretty quickly and hopefully get into DRS range.
Yeah, I think de Waal's lost a little bit of pace this race because Francesconi's gap is staying equal now, 2.1, and Bok just lost a 10 from that lap, 3.4 seconds now, but he's only 1.3 seconds behind Francesconi. But yeah, still we have to battle for P5 now, as Hemmingsen is definitely a lot closer to Singh this time around. And coming up Camel Straight now with DRS. I don't think he's going to be close enough, but it's going to be very, very tight. He might have a lunge, but he doesn't.
Indeed, he doesn't. P5 and P6 still being contested, and further back we've just had another move. Oh my goodness, Wilburn's lost another place, so Matthew Williams up into P9 now. Also Saracino just past Lalu for P11. But yeah, Wilburn has been dropping back. He did a great job in qualifying, but I'm not sure he's really liking the car at the start of this race.
Meanwhile, we had another retirement. Tom Stevens is out of the race. DNF'd. I don't know what happened, but he's a rookie as well. Normally driving in Formula Challenge, but he is out of the race for Drake Racing. So unfortunate for him.
23 drivers remaining in this race, all of those on the lead lap, as we're still very much in the early stages of the race. Leon Bok now he's under 1/10 of a second off the DRS range of Michael Francesconi, so 1.1 seconds back through the last checkpoint. Let's see what he ends up doing as they cross the finish line. He was really hooked up through that chicane there. That was a great bust-up chicane for Leon Bok, and that's got him within DRS range. So Leon Bok, I think, is going to have DRS, depending on where the detection zone is, as they go over the crest of the hill and onto the Camel Straight. He won't be close enough to remove this time around, but the DRS is all important. Now it's going to be so difficult for Francesconi to shake him off. Keeps it on the curb at Radion. You are allowed to cut the corner there so long as you keep it on the curb, as he did. And now Bok getting closer and closer, and surely he's within half a second at the end of the straight there.
Yeah, behind as well Singh, now in the DRS range of Jack Mayer, and Hemmingsen still behind Singh, also within DRS, but he'll have a more difficult task now passing Singh, as they both have DRS, and Lalu getting back past Saracino, and
both of them passing Wilburn, and there's going to be contact there, and around goes Saracino, and he's lost his rear wing, and is probably going to be out of the race. That is a disaster for Saracino, who is having a very, very good day, and I'm not sure that he knew that his opponent was still there.
Yeah, really unfortunate, but yeah, I think they both maybe a little bit too eager, I don't know. But really unfortunate to lose your rear wing there as he crashes out and retires from the race.